Welcome back to the Candlemass Video Chronicles. In today's episode, we're going to talk about Chapter 6, which is strangely enough their fifth studio album. It's called Chapter 6 due to them counting their 1990 live album as an album. Anyhow, Chapter 6 was released through Music for Nations in May of 1992. And here is Leif Edling with a message.
Hi there, I'm Leif Edling, the bass player from Candlemass, and this is the new singer.
And I'm Thomas.
We play really heavy music, and we got a new album coming out pretty soon. It's gonna be called Chapter 6, and it will be out in April sometime, so watch out for it.
On Chapter 6 we're introduced to a new singer in Thomas Vikström, but let's rewind the tape to 91. Messiah Marcolin abruptly left the band, and lead guitarist Lasse Johansson said this about Messiah's exit. I remember that I came down to the studio to do something. I heard a row, and all of a sudden he just quit. I got the impression that he got the impression he was fired, yet at the same time he claimed that he had left the band. How it really happened is not important. I don't think I bothered to ask. Guitarist Mappe Björkman had this to say about it. I think we wanted to develop Candlemass at that point. Personally, I think that Messiah had gone too far. It was too much opera. If you listen to Nightfall, you'll hear that he didn't have much vibrato and opera mannerisms that he had towards the end. It just got more and more. At some point we had to stop it and get back to metal. That's what I felt. At this point, the band had three options: to beg Messiah Marcolin to come back, to find a new vocalist, or to disband. Candlemass chose to continue on, and they decided on finding a vocalist that could sing on the new material that they started working on. There were some questions whether Thomas Vikström was the right guy for Candlemass. Mappe Björkman actually knew Thomas Vikström personally, but he was still hesitant about asking him to join. Mainly because Thomas wasn't a metal singer, but instead the frontman in a rather popular Swedish rock band with sugar sweet melodies called Talk of the Town. Mappe had this to say about the recruitment of Vikström. I know that Leif had gone to watch Thomas Vikström in a band that did metal covers, Judas Priest amongst others. He said, now there's a real metal singer. We were hesitant, you know, he had done Talk of the Town. Leif said, it doesn't matter, I've heard him do Judas Priest songs and it doesn't get more metal than that. Thomas Vikström then became Messiah Marcolin's replacement in Candlemass. Guitarist Lasse Johansson was initially skeptic, but he had this to say about their new singer. He recorded pretty fast. Like I said, I was never in the studio when I didn't have to be, but I went down there after he had recorded 2 or 3 songs. I think they played Where the Runes Still Speak to me, and he sang really effing good on that one. There was no sweet pop music to his performance whatsoever, so I thought it was rock solid. He was our guy. Candlemass recorded Chapter 6 at the Montezuma recording in Stockholm, Sweden. Rex Gislén, who produced Ancient Dreams, was back working with the band again, even though Candlemass was quite unhappy with the sound of that record. Rex was friends with Leif, and he had a studio that the band could rent for cheap, so they decided to go with Rex again. And Chapter 6 sounded fine in the studio, but when the album was released on vinyl, it sounded a bit flat and dry according to Mappe. On Chapter 6, Candlemass decided to use keyboards for the first time since Epicus Doomicus Metallicus. Mappe Björkman had this to say about it. It was an idea that Leif had about developing our sound. I think it turned out good. Who played the keyboards? I don't remember. We had a guy we hired that sat there playing. We had some keyboard sounds on Epicus too. I never had anything against keyboards. Messiah was the one who was against it. The keyboards are interwoven with the songs and not just intros and outros this time. But it's discreetly used. It's certainly not Candlemass trying to sound like Europe. Chapter 6 also marks the first time that anyone besides Leif Edling contributed to the songwriting. Leif did all the lyrics for the album, but Julie Laughs No More and The End of Pain was co-penned by Lasse Johansson. Chapter 6 was released on the 25th of May 1992. It reached number 43 on the Swedish charts, and the album did alright in Sweden, but the interest from abroad was almost non-existent. Maybe due to Messiah Marcolin no longer being in the band, and the rise of grunge and alternative metal, of course. The album consists of songs like The Dying Illusion, Julie Laughs No More, Where the Runes Still Speak, and Aftermath, to name a few. Chapter 6 contains very strong and consistent material, according to yours truly, but the hype from fans and the metal media for this new version of Candlemass was almost non-existent. Chapter 6 actually never got a US release, and this is what Mappe had to say about it. I don't know what happened with Chapter 6, we got no foreign gigs or distribution. The interest in Candlemass was too low, and with the vocalist change and all, it was hard work. We would have to be a lot bigger to begin with to maintain our status outside Sweden, despite everything that happened. Our career went downhill with Chapter 6, that's what happened. Metal Blade released the earlier Candlemass albums in the US, but for some reason that just didn't happen this time. Chapter 6 didn't lead to any foreign gigs for Candlemass. The band just played a lot of gigs in Sweden. Most notable was perhaps the gig that they played at the Hultsfredsfestivalen in '92. The band recorded 2 promotional music videos for Chapter 6. The Dying Illusion, that you just watched a re-edited clip from earlier in this video, but also a music video for Julie Laughs No More, and if you haven't seen that one, you're correct, because it included a scene with some salt lined up to represent something more sinister. And MTV took offense to that and censored the whole video because of it. The band moved on after that, but in 2006 when GMR wanted to re-release Chapter 6, the band tried to find that music video, but it was gone. Nobody made any personal copies of it before sending it over to MTV, so maybe it's forever lost. Chapter 6 then came out in May of '92. The classic Candlemass logo had been scrapped in favor of a more minimalistic one. It was 1992 and having a logo was perhaps more a thing of the past, it felt like. And the cover art was also quite different, to say the least. It was a new chapter for the band. Leif Edling wanted a mythological illustration for the album, something that would give the impression that the album was actually a book. The artwork was made by Thomas Arfert. The '92 release and the 2006 re-release may look a bit different, but they are just zoomed in on different sections of this gigantic illustration. Candlemass paid 24,000 crowns, $2,000 to $3,000 for the cover, which might be a bit on the expensive side for just being a bunch of scribbled symbols on a dark blue background. Maybe the artwork was a bit too weird and people didn't understand that it was a metal album that we were looking at. The artwork was also quite ambitious, with each and every song getting an illustration in the lyric sheet. This was also the first collaboration out of many between Candlemass and Thomas Arfert. After Chapter 6, the band also released the very strange Candlemass Sjunger Sigge Fürst EP, translated into Candlemass Sings Sigge Fürst. This came to be after Leif brought a cassette with music from this Swedish actor / vocalist Sigge Fürst, who sang cheerful pop songs back in the 40s and 50s. The band had some studio time over when they recorded Chapter 6, so this thing that started out as a joke then became reality, and the band recorded 4 Sigge Fürst songs. It was 4 very jolly sounding songs that probably confused a few foreigners that heard it and didn't understand a word of it because it was sung in Swedish. The Sjunger Sigge Fürst EP has been included as bonus tracks on more recent releases of Chapter 6. Leif Edling had this to say about Swedish bands making it abroad, and how come that many Swedish bands were so successful internationally.
Swedish musicians, they're very talented. They don't use so much drugs, and they're very reliable and somehow. I mean, I don't know why, but maybe it's the Swedish mentality. We're really boring, and we're really, I don't know. But maybe very educated. Maybe that's the key thing behind it, that we're pretty educated. So we don't, I mean, I wouldn't use the word copy. Maybe we don't copy everything that's going on around, because in Sweden there are so many commercial bands, very many death metal bands, but they're pretty original anyway. I don't know why, but everybody can play pretty good, and so I don't know. Maybe there's an interest now for Swedish bands, because so many Swedish bands get signed now. Very many death metal bands and very many commercial bands. So I think you'll see a lot of more Swedish bands around now on the international rock scene.
And Europe and Roxette have opened up the doors for Sweden too, for Swedish music.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely.
Roxette is doing so good now. I can't believe it, but they're pretty good.
Unfortunately, Chapter 6 didn't sell as well as the band had hoped for, and everyone's lack of interest in Candlemass music led to their demise, because in September of 1993 the band was put on hold. In the autumn of 94, after a year of inactivity, Candlemass officially disbanded. Guitarist Mappe Björkman had this to say about the split. It was more like we took one day at a time. We did Swedish gigs with Thomas and then it was over. Leif did not play any new songs to me. He broke the band up. I got a call from our manager, not even from Leif, saying that Leif had decided to disband Candlemass. He started Abstract Algebra after that. I quit music. Leif Edling started a new band called Abstract Algebra, and Thomas Vikström released his solo album If I Could Fly already in 93. Lasse Johansson and Lindh kept busy too, as they started working on a traditional heavy metal / hard rock project called Zoik, and their album Total Level of Destruction that came out in 96. Mappe Björkman moved away from Stockholm to Borås, a suburb outside of Gothenburg. So this was the end of Candlemass, at least for now. In the next episode of the Candlemass Video Chronicles, we're going to talk about Dactylus Glomerata and the lesser known 90s era of Candlemass. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you're new. And a special thanks to Per-Ola Nilsson, John Gaffney and Mattias Reinoldsson for compiling the Candlemass Chronicles magazine that this video series is based upon. Also a thank to Mikael Johansson and Roland Karlsson for contributing photos. And if you want to download the Candlemass Chronicles, you can find them at ruthlessmetal.blogspot.com. And if you want to support my work with this massive undertaking of a video series, then you can drop me a few dollars over on Patreon, like the Doom Dancers of the Apocalypse. And that's all for now, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode, where we cover Dactylus Glomerata. Cheers.